Greetings, I'm Mark with Unlimited Story, unlimited-story.com, a channel dedicated to writing, world building, marketing, and most importantly, getting things done. In this video, I am going to be covering Loki and his abilities because apparently they are very vast and the movies would not let you believe so. So I'm going to be covering that right now, so sit tight. And welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be covering Loki's abilities. I got this information from two very specific sources. One being Marvel's actual website dedicated to Loki, specifically on screen. So to me, that is the Loki that we know from the movies. And the second is the wiki page dedicated to Loki. And I will include both of them in the description below in case you want to read them yourself. Anyway, here we go. Because Loki's list of abilities are incredibly long. And if you watch the movies, you'd think, where have these been all this time? Because I know that's what I thought. Right out of the gate, Loki has super strength, super durability, and a super long life. Even though he is not really an Asgardian and he's a frost giant, apparently he's got a lot of the same stuff, so no problem there. He is classified as the most powerful sorcerer in Asgard. So right out of the gate, he's not a wizard, he doesn't have a cool pointy hat, but I'm kind of blown away because he got absolutely crushed by Doctor Strange in Thor Ragnarok, despite, Doctor Strange not living thousands of years and having time to practice. On the other hand, he's the Sorcerer Supreme and he can read a lot of books, so I don't know. Still, to me, Loki is really not that strong if he is supposed to be the most powerful sorcerer among gods. Astral Projection. This one should not be a surprise to anyone since he used it in Thor Ragnarok and, I don't know, worked like an astral projection should. Next up is Shapeshifting. Surprised? I know I am, because if you ever played Dungeons and Dragons, you'd know that shapeshifting is incredibly useful. Druids use that kind of stuff all the time. Now, I'm going to remind you that honestly Loki is more of a bard because he's all charisma based, but if he has shapeshifting in his kit, why has he never used it? There are so many opportunities he could have used. I mean, just being able to turn into an insect and, just escape, crawl through a crack, whatever. Turn into a bird, fly away, turn into a beast, anything. We have seen him create illusions where he's become other people. But that's not shapeshifting. Those are illusions. So, I don't know how they decided to throw this in here, but no. Shapeshifting is not one of Loki's abilities. Next up is Hypnosis, which we never actually see him use, but it's pretty safe to assume that he has used it, specifically on Odin when he, took his throne and, became Odin for at least a little bit. Molecular Rearrangement. I had to Google this, and I pretty much don't understand what it is besides the fact of, recomposing molecules. Don't remember seeing him do that, so don't know how this made the list. Next up is Energy Blast. I don't know where these have been the whole time, considering he specifically says in Dark World, he's like, hey, can I at least get a dagger? If you have Energy Blast, why aren't you using them? Did he forget? Clearly he forgot that he has Energy Blast. Levitation. Nope, never seen that before. Conjuration, which just means casting spells. I don't even know how this made it to the list. Next up is Cryokinesis. I don't know why we've never seen him use this ability. He knows he's a frost giant. I guess he just needs someone to teach him. Like his dad that he killed. All right, these next two, you're not even gonna believe they're on here. Telekinesis and Teleportation. I don't even, what? How was this even on here? Marvel made this list. This is from their website. Never seen him use it. These are incredibly useful abilities, yet he has never used them because he's an antagonist and whatever. Mystically imbue objects. So he can enchant weapons, great. But he's been using normal little throwing knives all this time. These little knives, he's been able to enchant them this whole time, yet he just pulls them out and just whips them, and they don't do much, right? Nothing. Create rifts between dimensions. Now I'm guessing this has to do with how he is able to hide stuff in other dimensions, like specifically what he did with the Tesseract. But other than that, I don't know what else it could be. Okay, so aside from his abilities, he also has a few other things to his kit, which is his, he's a master of manipulation. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised with that. Again, Loki's a bard. That's what he does. He manipulates people. He uses his mouth to get what he wants. Now I'm going to read this part word for word. It is highly intelligent with immense knowledge and skill wielding artifacts, arcane lore, as well as human and alien technology. Tactical thinker. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, except when he was pretending to be Odin and didn't like have anything in place to be like, hey, how do I make sure that I stay on top? You telling me this guy who was a tactical thinker put one guard, just one guard, in Thor Ragnarok, he put one guard right in front who couldn't fly, couldn't announce, couldn't do anything to let Loki know that Thor, or potentially anyone who could see him, was coming. Tactical thinker. One guard who could not do anything useful. Jeez. Cunning mind, which exceeds Thor and Odin. Really no big deal there. Thor isn't incredibly smart. On the other hand, Odin's, kind of crafty. He's been lying and manipulating people for his entire life and covering up the past. What's actually I found really interesting is when Hela spawned that, Loki and Thor engaged her, and she specifically pointed out these traits like, yeah, you kind of look like him. Or you kind of sound like him. So yeah, I just thought that was neat that Odin basically kind of his extremes, his physical and his mental, kind of got split up between his sons. And last on Marvel's list is that Loki is an expert combatant, which is a total line of BS. He virtually loses to everyone. He was marginally beating Captain America one-on-one, so I just nah. They also mentioned that he specifically uses throwing knives. Why can't this guy use a real weapon? Why can't he get like real weapons? He has daggers, and these daggers are all like super short, so they're not even like getting through armor and really digging in. I mean, just give this guy some legitimate weapons. All right, so next up is Loki's wiki page, which, will have some flexibility because this takes into account what we've seen in comic books. So they're not exactly the same, but I do want to just throw it in because this list is amazing, and the fact he doesn't have any of these abilities is comical. So enhanced speed, strength, durability. He's basically bulletproof to high caliber rounds. He has immunity to all known diseases. He is resistant to magic, aging, and toxins. So he's doing great. Like, he's got a lot going for him. Genius level intellect, which compared to other people in the MCU is not really a big deal. I mean, then he's probably on the bottom end of the spectrum when you're comparing him to someone like, like a Tony Stark. Now, he also does have his magical training, which is a very, very comprehensive list that includes energy projection, force fields, buff to his own self, as well as to others. He's a bard. He has flight, hypnosis, illusions, and interdimensional teleportation. Oh, what a great list. I would have loved for him to have these abilities in the movies. He would just start mopping the floor with people. He is also said to be the most powerful sorcerer in Asgard with citywide illusions, astral projection, and he cannot read people's minds, but he's able to manipulate them. Okay, so we saw a little bit of that actually in the first Avengers movie, though you could speculate based on the camera angles and stuff that it had more to do with the spear. But hey, just saying, it was part of his kit in the comics, so there you go. So once again, shapeshifting does hit the list, but there is some clarification on the wiki page, which is essentially that he's able to take on the physical form, but he does not necessarily gain their physical buffs. But minor ones he does get. So for example, change into a bird, can fly. Into a spider, crawl. Okay, so at least there's some clarification on that, but it is not like true shapeshifting. Okay, it's just you look like him, which still to me is an illusion. And the final bard ability that Loki has is animate objects, which is a lot of fun, has a lot of utility, and you can make other things attack for you. So apparently Loki has that as well. Great. All right, so that is the extent of Loki's abilities, at least in the MCU and in the comics. So now you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, he has a lot of abilities. How come I've never seen them before? Oh, that's a great question. And honestly, it's because he's an antagonist, and they gotta limit him in many ways. He can't be too powerful, right? But now, what I want to point out is that in this series, he is now the protagonist. So he'll have to be able to solve problems. So expect to see his abilities on this list make an appearance. Whether something happens that allows him to gain these abilities, whether he touches a relic, gets a weapon, or unlocks part of his past or something like that. Expect to see these abilities make an appearance. And if they do just make an appearance without something happening, well, that's just lazy writing, and I'll be really disappointed. So I really hope they do something, because again, if Loki had all these abilities this whole time, And that's actually really disappointing. But if, you know, they limited him early, which would be the correct thing to do, and then give him his abilities moving forward and allowing him to grow, that would be a much more interesting move, at least on, you know, for the series. So anyway, that's it for this video. You know, consider subscribing or whatever. Check out our website, watch one of the videos that, you know, YouTube recommends. Peace.